Hello folks, welcome. Yeah, I'm here. I'm just actually looking at some of my trim tools that I use for trimming. My particular type of trim tool that I use for the majority of my trimming is this kind of tool, as you know. I also have a piece of strapping of a palette, which I like for broader shapes to use for trimming. But some of them, they get dull, don't they, over time, and they need sharpening. So I just thought I'd just do a quick clip on sharpening your trim tools. And so there we have a selection. So if your trim tool goes dull, goes blunt, you will need to sharpen it or touch it up with a stone. And I've just got here a selection of this is a double-sided stone. It has a rough side and a smoother side, and you can use this to get the redress the angle that you've got on the cutting edge of your tool. You may find that the tool has got a, because generally the pots that we use are round, aren't they, when we're trimming? So the trim tool is always going to wear more in the middle than at each end. So it may be that you'll need to use a grindstone such as this. This is an electrical bench grinder with a coarse and a fine stone on it. And it may be that it's necessary just to grind it flat again before you actually come to use your stone. I don't actually recommend really finish grinding it with that grinder, with the bench grinder, because it's even the fine stone on the bench grinder here is not that fine, and it doesn't leave a very particularly smooth edge. What you can do is take something like a straight edge, put that up to a straight edge, and hold it up to the light, and I can see light coming through in the middle here, you see. So that really should be ground on the grindstone. I have to say, I've had these tools for a while, and I've not really sharpened them actually very much, which goes to show that the steel is actually fairly good quality. Yeah. This is not a commercial tool, this is a Korean type of trim tool, this one. And it actually cuts a bit down here as well as on the end. Interesting design. I recently did buy actually I'll show you this kind of grindstone. And this also has a coarse and a fine. So obviously before you sharpen, what you want to do is remove any clay. You want to get yourself into a good position where you're fairly, and it may be just down on the side of your, on the side there. Now this one is actually, this is a diamond. It's a diamond combination. Hand grinder. Actually is a very good, gives a good edge, this one. But it is a case of restoring the edge of the tool, and as you begin to grind, you begin to see, oops, you might think, I'm going to have to actually put that onto the bench grinder, because I can then remove more material, because I'm going to need to, you know. Yeah. Now, as far as grinding and sharpening, some of those smaller, I don't think I've got any here to show you. You know what I mean? Those loop tools, the loopy ones, the ones that got like a loop on the end of a. I suppose you could also use a grindstone such as this to carefully dress the cutting edge of the loop. They do tend to wear away, of course, more because there's not so much material there, is there? Now, I would recommend, instead of, as you see me doing here, perhaps better to hold it on something rigid, like your wheel, or in my case, like my wheel, because then it's solid, you see. Don't forget to trim the end of the tool as well. And get it so it doesn't vibrate. Then you may want to change the fine side. I do recommend these kind of trim tools, and I know many of you out there are not taught really with these kind of trim tools because they're not the current, they're not the more normal. I think they're more sort of Japanese, really. But I do recommend them. So it's a case of just patiently working at them till you get them back to being sharp again. If you use a bench grinder, you must wear eye protection. Okay. Don't skip on that. A lot of people do, and it's just not worth it because you've only got one pair of eyes, and you can't afford to get a grit or some piece of metal in your eye. So you want to be wary of the angles, you see, that you've got to work with. You want to put the right angle onto the blade. I mean, these particular ones here, I'm looking at them, they look like they are approximately 45 degrees, these angles here. But they can vary. Now, if you have a workbench and a more proper workshop, then you'll probably be wanting to do this at the workbench and not here at your wheel. I'm just doing it here now because it's cold out there where my workbench is. So I just brought these few things in here just to show you. Okay, folks, so there's a diamond sharpener. This is a cheaper sharpening stone with a coarse and a fine, and then you've got your bench grinder. All right, so just a little food for thought, because we do sometimes have our tools go blunt on us, don't we? I mean, a lot of it can depend on the kind of clay that you're using in your studio, and the more groggy the clay is, the more aggressive the clay is, you know, against the tool, and will wear the tool more. You can get tools that never dull, hardly, but I don't particularly care for those kind. They have a very hard, possibly tungsten carbide tip to them, but I don't personally recommend them. You know, if they fall on the floor or something like that, then you know, they can chip and break. Whereas these are just regular high carbon steel tools. Now, you could make these yourself if you had some decent high carbon steel to do it with. Anyway, just a few thoughts there to share with you. And this tool I'm going to be using again. This I really use for doing bigger pots and bigger surfaces where I need to like I've got some pots up here behind me that I need to trim, which we'll do in the next clip together. Okay, so stick around. Keep practicing. See you soon. Da, da, da.